So before we start this video, Jamie Foxx is returning to his role as Electro in the MCU Spider-Man 3. What the hell? So anyway, let's get started with the real video. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are here for part 6 of my Spider-Man movie review series, and today the movie we're going to be reviewing is Spider-Man Homecoming. So, as to do a little introduction for the movie itself, this was Tom Holland's first solo run in the MCU as the web-slinger Spider-Man, and it was a massive occasion. We've been waiting for Spider-Man to be in a Marvel property for a very long time, and just like Sony had him for so long, and all of a sudden he was in Civil War. Everyone was hyped as hell, and I was one of those people that was very hyped. Upon watching it, I think I saw it like 8 times. I absolutely adored this movie. My opinion slightly changed since then, but we'll get into that during this review. So sit tight and enjoy the video. So as always with these reviews, I'd like to start it off by going over all the things that I didn't really like about the movie. And the first thing that I don't really like, well, I just don't like it at all, is the huge mistake that is the 8 years later title card, right? Like, what the hell were they thinking? This does not add up. The movie's supposed to take place in 2017. The footage that we see that was 8 years prior is after the Battle of New York in Avengers, and from 2012 to 2017 that should have only been 5 years. So if it's 8 years, that would have been 2019, which is not the case. So massive continuity error, sucks, really does my head in every time I see it. Why couldn't they have just paid a little bit more attention? The next thing I saw that I didn't like about this movie was the Ned and Peter bedroom scene, where Peter sort of crawls in on the roof, and then obviously you have the part where Ned drops the Death Star, which is actually quite funny. The thing I don't like about this scene is that, first of all, why didn't Peter see Ned go when he went through the window? I mean, like, Ned is just sitting there, he's not exactly hidden. And secondly, why is Aunt May not like confused as to why Peter is in the bedroom? Because clearly Peter wasn't in the house, because May let Ned into Peter's bedroom, and then all of a sudden Peter's in the bedroom, but he hasn't come through the front door. So why is she not like, how the hell did you get in your room, man? Like, it feels like they just completely ignored that, and it's kind of stupid to me. It's sort of like one of those things where it's like, is it lazy? Like, they missed out on it completely, so they just wrote in a little humorous scene rather than actually go into detail where, like, why is Peter in this room? He wasn't home 5 minutes ago, so how is he just in the room? That's something that you'd question. Like, it doesn't just happen. When Peter is at the party, at Liz's party, and he leaves to go and Spider-Man it up, and you know he's about to drop in, he's just sitting on the edge of this building, like, and anyone in this party could look up at him at any time and see that Spider-Man is Peter. This really bugs me, because it's a secret identity for a reason, and he's just on the edge of this ledge of a building. All his friends, all his mates are down in the party, literally like super close to him. They literally only have to glance up and they like just straight up see him, and he's just there with his mask off. Like, why? Also, I would have preferred if he was doing that whole monologue where he's like, do I really want to do this, you know, and he's going over how he's going to enter, like, hey, what's up, man, you know, have you seen my friend Peter around, you know. If he did that with the mask on, I think it just would have been cooler. I don't know why. I think it would have been a cooler aesthetic, especially with the lighting on the suit and all that. Personal preference on that part of it, but on the part where it's like, hide your secret identity, he should definitely be wearing a mask. One of my biggest issues with this film is Iron Man, just Iron Man in general. Now, in the MCU, I absolutely adore Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr. killed it. He's not in the universe anymore after Endgame, you know, for obvious reasons. I absolutely adore Robert Downey Jr. in this role, but this is Spider-Man's first movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's a huge moment, absolutely massive. He's never been able to be in this universe before, and I completely understand why Iron Man's in here. He's in there to sort of say, hey, look, we got Spider-Man in here, you know, and that's Iron Man, the one who started it all, you know. They're talking together in the same universe, and like, yeah, that's cool. But I came here to watch Spider-Man Homecoming, not Iron Man Homecoming, you know what I mean? Like, Iron Man is in this film to such an extent where it feels like a team-up movie. It doesn't feel like Spider-Man's own movie, and it just is kind of disappointing to me. I know there's sort of like a mentor kind of relationship between them, but I would have liked to see Peter learn the ropes more independently, so I would have liked to see him mess up and there'd be genuine consequences to the point where he's like, shit, I've really got to step up and sort myself out. Because that bit with the Staten Island ferry, the stakes are high as hell, and like he's saving them and all that. He completely messes it up, and then Iron Man swoops in and saves them all. Like, I know it would have been a bit grim for them all to die, but like that would have been a huge consequence for Peter. Like, he would have been like, shit, all those people just died and it's all my fault. Like, because Tony even says, I sent the FBI there, I sorted it all out. It would have been completely Peter's fault that all those people died. Or they could have gone the opposite direction to that and made Peter look cooler by saving them all. Like, actually saving them. But no. Instead, Peter is like this dutty hero and Iron Man's like, yeah. And I get it. Because again, Spider-Man's in like this universe of all these great heroes, the Avengers, the Guardians, all these much greater, more experienced heroes. But I just would have liked to see the stakes a bit higher in this film. I feel like every mistake Peter ever makes in this film is solved by Tony. It's like he could do something completely wrong and nothing would come of it. It'd just be sorted out like that, and it just, it kind of pisses me off. Another thing that really bugs me, not a massive like problem, but just something that like really like just, it riles me up, is when Tony's like, if you just listened to me, you know, you wouldn't have dropped you in the lake, and you know, if you were just doing friendly neighborhood stuff, you never would have run into this vulture guy, and you know, basically, if it wasn't for me, you would have drowned in that lake. But there, you know, after he deploys the parachute and all that and falls, I'm like, bro, if the parachute wasn't in the suit, if there was no like safety measure, right, he would have survived. Because as you can see, the fall to the water didn't kill him. Like, he survived the fall to the water. It was the parachute that tangled him up and almost made him drown. If it wasn't for the parachute, Peter would have been fine. He could have just swum straight out or whatever. But the parachute tangles him up and almost kills him. So that's completely on Iron Man. Yet Tony takes no responsibility for that at all. It's done in the good of his heart, like, oh, I'll chuck a parachute in it just in case, you know. But like he blames the drowning on Peter then, and that's completely down to Tony putting a parachute in the suit. He survived the fall. It really like riles me up, because he's like, he puts the entire blame on Peter, and he's like, bro, I ain't done nothing wrong. And he's like, you almost drowned, but if it were for the parachute, you would have been fine. So my other concern with this film is the number of gadgets in Peter's suit. There are way too many of them. I don't know, my favourite part of seeing Spider-Man as a character is seeing him make the most out of very little. And in here he just has everything. Like, he has taser webs, splitter webs, rapid fire webs. Whereas in like past films, if he wanted rapid fire webs, he'd just, he'd quickly tap them rather than shoot like a line. But in this, it's like he holds it down and it shoots web balls for him. Like, again, it's like they're doing too much for him. I know he's a new Spider-Man, but part of the learning curve is that he learns to deal with shitty situations, and like with all these gadgets, he pretty much just has all the good shit thrown at him. He doesn't have to learn anything. Like, obviously he has to learn how to use the gadgets, but once he masters those, he just has everything he'll ever need. He doesn't have to improvise. He just has all this stuff at his disposal. It takes away what makes Spider-Man so interesting to me. Karen as a whole is annoying as hell. Hate Karen in this film. Like, I get why she's in it again. She's in there to like sort of be that voice in Peter's head, that like, you know, when he talks to himself. But why can't he just talk to himself like he does in the comics, or like in the cartoons? Why does he have to talk to a computer? It'd be so much better if he actually just talked to himself. It'd bring that charm of like he's a loner and he's a bit, you know, doolally because he's talking to himself. But no, he's talking to a bloody computer instead. I don't know. It just feels pointless to me, and she's really annoying. Just one final note on the dislikes. The final fight for me is completely lackluster. It's boring. Like. For me, it's one of the most boring parts of the film. There's no like style to it, and again, I'll bring it up because I know people might say it. He's a very inexperienced Spider-Man. I completely understand that. But there are so many more cooler ways that you could have gone about a more inexperienced Spider-Man in a final fight. But in this, it just feels like a choppy, blinding mess of just sound and light. Like, that whole airplane fight is so jarring to watch for me, I'd rather skip it. Like, there's so many flashing lights, it's really jarring. I don't like it at all. And the whole fight, just in general, like when they get to the beach part, it's just Peter getting beaten up for a little bit, and then it ends. It's very lackluster, and for me personally, very hard to watch. Okay, now on to the things that I like about this movie. I would say this movie is a very 50-50. I got a couple of things I like. I like that from the very beginning of the film, Vulture's motivations are shown pretty much straight away. You completely understand why he's doing what he does. Obviously, you don't know what he's doing at the beginning, but when it comes round to you see what he does as a business, or like as a villain, when you know what he does, you can completely understand that and tie it back to the beginning straight away. It's very laid out, and it's clear that, like, obviously he was doing this job and Tony Stark stripped it all away from him, and you know, he needs to support his family and his daughter and all that. Very well explained, and it's done straight away. I like it a lot. I like that I know and can feel for Vulture's motivations. I completely agree with his motivations, if anything. Like, I'm like, yeah, fair, bro, you got your job taken off you know, and you're pissed off. I'm with you, bro. I completely understand. I feel that at the beginning of this film, now this is like very much to an extent, right, for me. At the beginning of this film, Peter is very relatable, okay? Now, I say Peter is very relatable. Peter's Spider-Man, I wouldn't say is very relatable, because in past iterations of Spider-Man, he's had to get everything for himself. He makes his own suit, makes his own gadget, you know, all that stuff. He does it all himself. It feels like anyone could kind of make the stuff he makes and become Spider-Man. In this, it's all given to him by Tony. So that part of him is sort of detached. I don't feel like that's very relatable. But Peter at the beginning is very relatable. I like how he gets so excited about going on missions with the Avengers. Like, he's a fan. Like, obviously I'm a fan of Marvel and the Avengers. Like, as an Avengers fan, and seeing Peter be a fan of the Avengers and Iron Man and being like, oh my god, when's the next mission? When's this? When's that? When's this? Oh my god, I can't wait, you know? That is very relatable to me. It's also another thing that I like about the recently released Avengers game. Playing as Kamala Khan at that beginning, at the Avengers A-Day convention thing, is probably one of my favourite parts of that game. It's so relatable, and I feel like this is something that could happen to me in real life. Like, I could go to this convention and I'd be like, oh my god, that's Thor. Like, Thor is there. Like, oh my god. You know, it's very relatable. So I like how relatable Peter is. Just a quick little thing that I like is how when he puts his suit on for the first time, it's really baggy. I like this because it's sort of like a little nod to how quick he puts the suit on. Like, in the comics or cartoons or something, you'd be like, oh my god, danger, and you run around the corner and you'll come back out in like 5-10 seconds with the whole shebang on and ready to fight. This is a skin-tight suit. I know from experience that trying to get one of those suits on is not quick and is definitely not easy. So, like, the explanation of this suit being super baggy and then he presses the spider and it, you know, tightens up to him, that's genius. I love that a bit. The whole Washington Monument scene, I feel, is done very well. There's a lot of suspense, and it's one of those moments where Spidey actually saves everyone in the accident. Like, he's not helped by anyone, he actually does it himself. Surprise. But yeah, it's a brilliant scene, very tense, and I also like how Peter is afraid of heights, because he's like brand new to being Spider-Man. Like, just because he has superpowers doesn't mean that he's not scared. You know, he has to get over that fear of heights. I love that bit. It's really funny. One of my other favourite scenes from this film is the whole like sort of what do you call it, compilation of Aunt May helping Peter get ready for homecoming and get all this stuff together, teaching him how to tie a tie and how to treat women or treat his date. So how to treat Liz while going to homecoming and all that. It's really wholesome. That really brings Peter down to the ground for me, because he's just your average. He might be this superhero with all this tech and all this stuff, but at the core he's still just Peter Parker who has girl troubles and doesn't know how to do these things, you know what I mean? The final thing I like about this movie, and is probably just like one of the best parts of this movie all around, is the whole dad talk with Michael Keaton, the Vulture. Toombs finds out on the journey from how uncomfortable Peter is in the car that Peter is Spider-Man. It shows how see-through Peter is, because he's not experienced to doing all this stuff. He's really terrible at lying and all that, and he's really nervous. And I love that. I love how Toombs has seen right through him. Like, there's no wall up that hides him from being Spider-Man. Vulture has seen right through Peter. He's like, I know you're Spider-Man, bro. You don't have to lie anymore. And then he intimidates him and all that, and he's like, you know, it's a really intimidating speech that he gives him. Real, like, Spider-Man wager, where he's like, what do I do? You know, do I do the right thing and be Spider-Man, or do I just ignore it and let my life be good? You know what I mean? So you can either live a good life, live a happy life, be with Liz, you know, date her, all that stuff, and let Vulture go, or you can leave Liz behind and arrest her dad, and, you know, probably make Liz feel like crap because her dad's been arrested. He ditched her from homecoming, which we call prom here. It's really weird to say homecoming, because in the UK it's just called prom. Yeah, very good speech, and I love it. I love this bit a lot. Michael Keaton absolutely slams this like speech here. It's brilliant. So yeah, guys, that was my review of Spider-Man Homecoming, and I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think, if you got any other opinions on it. If you know, if you don't agree with some of my opinions, if you do agree with all my opinions, you know, put it all down in the comments. But please, no arguing. I get that Spider-Man is a massive, controversial sort of figure in the comic world, where, you know, a lot of different opinions come into it, with all the different films, all the different comics, all different adaptations. Just be nice to one another. You're all allowed to have your own opinions. It's all chill, you know, but feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, put the notification bell on so you know when we upload next. We upload very regularly, every Wednesday and Saturday at 6:30 PST, I think. Yeah, so guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye.